Hello. Thank you for joining me. Today, I want us to uh, talk about embedded systems. Previously, we learned about instruction sets and what they mean to a computer and how they are executed. And now we want to go a step further and look at embedded systems today. Now, these are predominantly the components that are normally used in latest technologies in our environment today. Embedded systems are used in different ways. They are used in cars, they are used in aeroplanes, they are used in hospitals, and even at our homes. We use them. So I want us to look at what are the main components of an embedded system. Now, an embedded system is a combination of hardware and software which is designed to perform specific functions. Now, the hardware is electronic or electrical or even electromechanical. Now, embedded systems, as we've said, they're made up of two major components, hardware and software. So you will be able to see the distinction between this system and other systems like a computer, which is based on microprocessor, but also some of these embedded systems are based on microprocessors. So embedded system is made up of hardware and software. Now, the hardware part, we've said it can be electrical or electronic, or it can be electromechanical. So it is important to have that in mind even as we set our mind into understanding what embedded system is. Now, embedded system is based on three hardware components. So it can be a microcontroller, it can be a microprocessor, or system on a chip, right? So those are the three hardware components on which embedded system can be based on. So a microcontroller is a CPU in addition to some RAM and ROM and either peripherals and other peripherals rather, which form part of the microprocessor and are used within the embedded system to perform a certain task. Then we have the microprocessor, which is an integrated circuit which only has a CPU on the chip. There's no RAM, there's no ROM. This you need to understand that a microprocessor doesn't have RAM or ROM, but it normally has some kind of registers which are basically types of ROMs within the processor, but they are not exactly ROM. Now, maybe in a later video, we will look at the microprocessor itself and dissect and be able to understand the single individual items that constitute a microprocessor. Now, we have what we call a system on chip, or SoC. Now, this is a term that is normally used on phones. If you are technological inclined and you like technology, especially related to phone and such, and these small devices, you'll find that SoC is normally mentioned. It is a word, or it is a term that normally comes up when such kind of devices are mentioned, and the reason being it is a special kind of a chip that consists of several items mounted together to bring that element of a computer in a small device. So in this context, we are told that this may it may contain a microcontroller as one of its components, that always will include a CPU, a memory, input and output ports, secondary storage, which are bundled together on a single device. So that is important to know, because as technology advances, the devices are becoming smaller and smaller, and we find that the computers that we used to know have been able to reduce in size, and currently we have even devices that are so small and they can fit into our watches, and therefore we have smart watches, we have small devices that we can use. So it is important to understand that. Now here is a diagram that try to summarize how embedded system works in general. Now remember, an embedded system is a device and has got hardware and software, and the hardware part is predominantly the microprocessor or a microcontroller or a system on a chip, which is able to coordinate the activities of this device. So we need to understand that as bare minimum in knowing what embedded system is all about. Now, having said that, it is imperative that you look at this diagram and begin to understand something about embedded system. Now, embedded system consists of hardware and software. Yeah, as you can see, it is the main thing that is being given here. It is the main thing that is being shown here, and there's also some element of user interface. Some embedded system are and automatic. They don't involve human element or human aspect in their functionality, but they are able to collect or gather information within and without within the environment automatically, and that makes them smart devices. But in some instance, we have user interfaces. So there are some of these embedded system, or most of them, have a way of giving out feedback. So they're generally feedback oriented. Now it might have an analog or digital input as the main element of it. Then embedded system can contain sensors as input, mechanical components, actuators, and softwares. Right. So some of the latest embedded system use very powerful dual-core CPUs and a variety of input-output connectors, leading to a number of applications. So you find that these devices are very important, and they are somehow sophisticated because they are becoming smarter and smarter, owing to the fact that their technology of producing this embedded system is advancing each and every day. So there are so many aspects of embedded system that we are not capturing here. This is just a bare minimum that one should know, especially if you are in the field of computer science and maybe generally IT, or rather you're just someone who is keen in finding out and exploring new ideas and new technologies that are there. So it is important to know that some of these embedded systems have sensors as their input. Now, sensors, as from what we know, are devices that are they are input devices that are able to capture information or data from the environment automatically. Now, because they are analog in nature, so there must be some kind of analog digital converter that is able to convert that data captured from the environment before releasing it to the microprocessor or a microcontroller or even system on a chip to compare it with what is already existing in the system to take appropriate action. Okay, now when installed, this device either the operator can be able to input data manually, or you can have the system capturing data automatically from the environment. So that is what we have been explaining to you before. Now, embedded system can be programmable or non-programmable devices. So depending on the device, embedded system can either be a programmable or non-programmable. So non-programmable devices need in general to replace if they require software upgrade, but those that are programmable now sometimes permits what we call upgrading. And now this upgrading is done in two ways: connecting the device to a computer and allowing the device to update the software. For example, it is used to this is used to update maps on GPS system using a vehicle. So that you connect the device to a computer, then you allow it to update. That is one way. And another way is automatically updates through internet, such as through Wi-Fi, satellite, or cellular mobile data. So those are some of the ways in which programmable embedded systems can be able to be updated and get latest software and latest modification in their functionality in order to interact and work with the environment accordingly. Now, here is a table of benefits and what we call drawbacks or disadvantage. So there are a number of them here, but we're just going to look at all of them together as we can see, and probably that will be the end of this video today, because we need to understand this as early as now, so that we stand a better chance of having a clear understanding, a clear perspective of what we call embedded systems. Now, the benefits are as follows. So they're small in size and therefore easy to fit in a device. So most of them can fit in devices. We have them in cars, we have them in our homes, and so they are small, and that is a great thing. They are portable. You can put them in devices. So if your device is also portable and this thing is also small in size, when you fit it into your device, it technically means that you can move around with it and be able to understand the whole thing as it is. Now, compared to other systems, they are relatively low cost to make. So they're not their production is not that huge, but in terms of budget, but it's something that can work on a budget. So it is important to say that they are also usually dedicated to one task, allowing simple interface and often no requirement for operating system. So that makes them simple and cheaper, because at the end of the day, this is not a fancy or rather fancy thing. Maybe you just want to control some aspect of your environment, so you don't need to invest so much into technicalities of the operating system, the complexity of the system using various components. So that is very important to know. They consume very little power. They can be controlled remotely using a mobile phone, for example. The very fast reaction to change input, so that is changing input, so they can react very fast to changing input. They are with mass production, they are more reliable. Now, on the other side, we have the drawbacks. It can be difficult to upgrade some devices because you'll have to buy them. Sometimes troubleshooting to find problems is difficult. So although the interface can appear to be more simple, but sometimes in reality it can be more confusing for somebody who is just starting out. So those are some of the drawbacks that are there. Any device that can be accessed over the internet can also be hacked, so that's a challenge. Okay, but this is a challenge that is there for all the devices, ranging from computer to the small devices that we use. So we cannot run away from it or from them. So what we need to do is to prepare ourselves and do as much as possible to keep our system secure. Due to difficulty in upgrading and fault finding, most of the times, if you have a device which cannot update or cannot be connected to the computer and update itself, then when they breaks down or when they broke down, you throw them away. So yeah, so it is important to know that. So those are some of the drawbacks as far as embedded system are concerned. So thank you so much for spending time with me in understanding this idea. So if you have not subscribed, please make a point of doing so. And if you have already subscribed, please share this video so that we can work together and develop this channel for the better. Thank you.